Well, if you're just going by those temperatures, it doesn't quite feel like fall yet, but if you're a sports fan, you know what season it is. Coming up in sports, we'll be talking high school football. Well, Eli Lord won the steer wrestling this year, and he just so happens to be one of the few in the top 50 that actually decided to enter. And you've probably heard it already, but Kelly Bryant, the grad transfer from Clemson, is now under center for Mizzou. We'll have to wait just a little bit longer to see how he and the Tigers do against the Pokes here at this altitude. Game time is set for 5:30 tomorrow night. Welcome into sports. Well, I hope you're ready to hear a little bit more about some football action because that's where we're starting today. As I mentioned, I'm out here live at Central High School. That's because this is where our game of the week is taking place on Friday. Can you walk me through some of those emotions that you're feeling now that this plaque has actually been unveiled? 150 years of college football. I imagine you watched football growing up, played it. Can you just talk to me a little bit? What are some memories that you have from childhood when it comes to football?
Yeah, there's a lot.
So, Will, you guys are taking on Tongue River tonight. What does your team need to do to get the win here? Can you just talk to me a little bit? What is your mindset moving forward this week in practice? I mean, we're celebrating 150 years of college football this year. What do you think the fans love most about watching the defense play during games? Well, I can't believe it. We have just under 24 hours until college football is back in the state of Wyoming. Now, Craig Bull held a press conference earlier this week, and he talked about the Pokes defense. Now, they obviously lost some experience with safeties Marcus Epps and Andrew Wingard gone. But the Cowboys have some talented cornerbacks taking the field in Tyler Hall and Antonio Hull. Bull was asked if he would use some of that experience to try and get some pass rush going tomorrow. And when you talk about the team, they have a little bit of inexperience there. He mentioned only having 6 seniors. But for some of that younger talent, he says it's not that they're not talented. It's just they haven't played some of those positions before. And then when you're talking to those players, I talked to a couple of juniors. What they had to tell me was with those young guys, they're trying to get the message across that this game that they're coming off of on Friday doesn't define their season. Yeah, Danielle, earlier I talked to head coach Will Gray, and he told me in order for Pine Bluffs to get the win tonight, they're going to need to run the ball. And then when you look at the defensive side of their game, he said that the team needs to make tackles and they can't afford to give up big plays. Now, he says his message to the team throughout the week has been all about consistency. He's been telling them that in order to compete well today, tonight, on Friday, they need to compete well throughout the week, Monday through Thursday. And with it being the last game of the regular season, that means some teams' seasons ended tonight while others are headed to the playoffs. And the Plainsmen are down by 3 scores deep in their own territory, showing that punt formation. But look at this change. Looking for some magic, and here's David Tangeman finding number 1 Jansen Adair, and they'll pick up the first down. Special guest at this game tonight, head coach of the Wyoming Cowboys, Craig Bull, made an appearance. Bolts will get the win 55-7 and finish the regular season undefeated and have the number 1 seed heading into the playoffs. Jumping ahead to second quarter action, Burns up 12-6. Quarterback Caden Lakin finds little brother Cooper Lakin down the sideline. That catch sets up 1st and goal for the Broncs at about the 1-yard line. They'll celebrate with a hug right there. A few plays later, big brother punches it in. Broncs go up 18-6. Again, looks for the end zone and finds Brock Storbo. And you know what? His twin brother is kind of be right here giving him that high five while he'll grab a TD later on in the game. Central has a lead right here, 21-0. Yeah, the East Thunderbirds visiting the South Bison. Let's go ahead and start with some second quarter action. East is leading South 21-0 with about 8 minutes to play in the half. But here's South looking to answer. Quarterback Braden Hughes fakes the handoff, rolls right, and cuts back, finding tight end Hunter Scott, number 89, finds plenty of room to run. Scott picks up the first down and then some, and that play gives South some momentum to start the game. And on the return, they'll throw in a reverse right here, number 56, Kyle Tureen on the long return. That'll give the Hornets great field possession to start off. Looks like Gray's team came to play tonight. Quarterback Dante Jacobson on 2nd and 15 finds a wide receiver open. Number 9, Michael Shane, gets the touchdown. Pine Bluffs goes up 6-0. And you know, what would a game be without some defense? So let's give number 55, Brian Stager, some credit. Coming up big with this fumble recovery right here. And you know what? How about another one? Dante Jacobson with another recovery a little later in the game. Denver, back at home and looking to snap a 3-game losing streak, had the lead heading into the half. Jokic gets a double-double with 23 points and 12 rebounds. Paul Millsap, who was back following an ankle injury, had 9 points and 10 rebounds. Nuggets win 103-87. And speaking of trying to snap losing streaks, the Colorado Avalanche are looking to get out of a 7-game slide. The past 3 losses for the Avs have come in overtime. Yesterday, the Avs gave up a goal with less than a minute remaining in OT.
Welcome back, everyone.
Oh, welcome back. No, I'm just having some good-hearted fun with my good buddy.
I couldn't do it.
That's what happens when you miss a cue. You keep looking down too long, apparently.
That's what happens when you
You're
throw
never
shade
gonna live that
with
one down.
Punxsutawney.
I kind of thought similarly. I'm like, pandas are cute, but newborn pandas.
So, Grace, we got to ask, how did you like taking over for Sports for a night?
Oh, I love sports, Aaron. I had a great time. Around this time of year, many people take time to give thanks. For me, I'm thankful for college football, and if you've watched a game this year, you've probably seen this logo here, recognizing 150 years of the sport. And now we're going to look back on some of the history of UW's football program.
He's in! Touchdown, Cowboys!
2019 marks 150 years of tackles and touchdowns.
He's got a man. This is caught by C.J. Johnson. Touchdown, Cowboys!
150 years of college football. The University of Wyoming's program began in 1893, almost 25 years after the first college game between Princeton and Rutgers.
When old-timers review this year, talk of Hardeman and his running will top the conversation.
Throughout UW's history, there are defeats.
Game should go.
San Diego State 27, the Wyoming Cowboys 24.
And victories.
2-point conversion attempt to decide the game. Chapman, throwback. It's Broughton, and it's incomplete. Wyoming wins.
And events that go beyond the game of football. In 1969, 14 African-American players were dismissed from the football team for asking to wear black armbands during an upcoming game against BYU. The LDS Church, which operates BYU, didn't allow African-Americans to become priests.
The crazy part of this, we never did anything wrong.
This incident is known as the Black 14. John Griffin was one of those 14. He says they never protested.
And the notion of we're going to just demand to wear an armband, no. If he had said, gentlemen, you know, I don't think it's a very good idea. Let's table this and we'll talk about it later. We would have done it in a hot second.
Wyoming would only win 2 more games after these players were kicked off the team, finishing the season 6-4.
My biggest game in college was against the Air Force, but I had 7 quarterback sacks in that game. You enjoy it, but at one point in your life, you would pay the bill for playing it.
Tony McGee was another player kicked off the 69 team. He later went on to play in the NFL.
For me, that was what I was doing. That's what I did, and I'd do it again.
Wyoming wouldn't have a winning season again until 1976. We won't know what may have happened that year if things had gone a different way.
But you ask us, you done all right.
No doubt. Yeah.
I don't think anybody could have ever touched us.
Yeah.
No doubt.
50 years ago, members of the Black 14 were kicked off the team. For some of them, 2019 was also the first year they were back on campus since 1969. We've already taken a look back at some of the University of Wyoming football program's history. Now let's take a look at its present. 50 years after the Black 14 brings us to this season, the 150th anniversary of college football and those playing for the Cowboys today. Players like Sean Chambers.
Touchdown, Cowboys!
Just waking up, at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays and turning on the TV watching college football all day. When I was young, I used to think that college football was way better than NFL.
Tyler Vanderwall.
So it's nice for me to get a trophy game under my belt, and especially to beat the biggest rival in the Mountain West. It feels great. There's no better feeling in the world.
Even C.J. Colden.
He shot back, lost the football. It is scooped up. And all the way back
I know we needed points because we was down at the time. So it was like, we got to get on the board some way, somehow.
Colden's career has been plagued by injuries, but he says returning a fumble for a touchdown against Mizzou was his favorite memory so far.
That would probably be it, just because it was a big play, and I put points up on the board, you know. It just sparked a lot of energy. Like, it was crazy.
Touchdown.
I got like whiplash too, because everybody was slapping my helmet and stuff, but it was crazy.
Takes the snap on 4th and 11, fires, incomplete. The Cowboys will take over on downs.
The win against Missouri, also the first win against a Power 5 team for head coach Craig Bohl during his tenure at Wyoming.
How about this upset? This is one of the biggest wins ever. Yeah. Let's just say it. This is one of the biggest wins ever.
What makes college football so exciting to people, do you think?
I think it's the fans. You know, in NFL fan bases, you just don't see as crazy as fan bases as, you know, college. You know, especially with our fan base, I think it's, you know, it's one of the best out there. They show up on Saturdays and pack the war.
And after the 150th season of college football, the Cowboys will continue to ride for the brand. I know there's even more talent on this team than I was able to mention. What a year for the Cowboys. The Pokes are finishing this anniversary season undefeated at home and bowl eligible for the 4th consecutive time. Good morning and welcome into sports. Well, let's start off with some high school football action. Central is taking on Sheridan Friday night. Here's a look at how the Indians are getting ready for our game of the week.
Don't look at it as Cheyenne Central football. Look at it as a bump in the road, as we're coming for the rest of the teams we're playing for. Watch out, for sure.
Cheyenne Central is hoping to bounce back after a loss to Thunder Basin in their 2019 opener.
Here we go, punt team, here we go. So when you're ready, catch here, then get your steps and go, okay? You got more time than you think.
Head coach Mike Apodakas says they're telling the seniors the team will go as far as they're willing to take them.
You're generally only as good as your seniors are. You know, it's hard in the hierarchy of high school for a junior and especially a sophomore to expect them to lead. It's you know, that hierarchy kind of takes ownership of it. Obviously, if we can get away and get the punt off, that's our goal. If not, go get us something positive.
And as the team spends the week preparing for the game against Sheridan on Friday, a few of the players have an idea of what messages they'll be hearing from Coach.
Probably his main one is that realize how good you are. Talent is not an issue.
He's always like, the reality is, guys, we're going to win or we're going to lose. That's what he says a lot. He says the reality is a lot.
He says do everything right all the time, and that's the difference between a 3-7 team and a 7-3 team.
Kickoff for the game is set for 6 o'clock on Friday night. The LCCC volleyball team was in action last night against Western Nebraska Community College. Western Nebraska took the early lead, taking the first set 25-22. They would end up winning the second set with a close score again, 25-21. Then we get to the third set. LCCC manages to get the win, 25-21. That means they're going to play another set. Then with the biggest point margin of the evening, LCCC takes set 4, winning 25-19. Unfortunately for the Golden Eagles, the late rally wasn't enough. They dropped the fifth set 15-11. The team is back in action again this weekend, though, at the Star Invitational in Twin Falls, Idaho. Head coach Craig Bohl is in line for a bonus of $100,000 following the Cowboys' win over Mizzou on Saturday. This is the first time one of Bohl's teams has beaten a Power 5 team since he took over coaching the program, but this isn't the last time he wants to see one of his teams get a win like this.
He said one of these days you're going to see us play and win a big game. And it's not because we got a quarterback that runs sideways and can throw a football in the back of the end zone on a rope and is a first-round draft choice. One of these days you're going to look down and go, we're just better than the other team. And we saw elements of that Saturday night.
The last time Wyoming beat a Power 5 team was in 2008 when they took down Tennessee. The Pokes are on the road playing Texas State this weekend. And one thing to note before we head out, Elijah Halliburton was named the Bronco Nagurski Defensive Player of the Week. That's going to do it for sports. Have a great day.